this begins Chapter 3, Lesson 4, Dealing with Dividing Rational Numbers. But before we get into that, let's kind of check and make sure, see what you remember from yesterday's lesson. So we're going to find the product of 5 ninths and 2/3. And what is the answer in its simplest form? Is it A, 11 ninths, B, 18 fifteenths, C, 7 tenths, or D, 10 27ths? And your answer is D. Multiply straight across. 5 times 2 is 10, 9 times 3 is 27. You cannot simplify that number. Now find 3/8 times 16 21st and write the answer in simplest form. Is the answer A, 2 sevenths, B, 19 29ths, C, 128 63rds, or D, 48 21sts? And your answer is A. Now find 9 tenths times a -5. Write the answer in simplest form. Is the answer A, 4 1/2, B, 9 tenths, C, -9 tenths, or D, -4 1/2? And your answer is D. Remember that -5 is the same as -5 over 1. And so when you multiply those across, you end up with -4 1/2. Now we have 2x divided by 3 times 4 over x. Write the answer in simplest form. Is the answer A, 2x, B, 2 2/3, C, 6 over x squared, or D, 1 6x? Remember what you know about numbers canceling out also applies to variables canceling each other out. And your answer is B. The reason it's B is because the x in the numerator and the x in the denominator will cancel each other out, leaving no variables whatsoever. So the only possible answer is B. Now we're going to find 5b divided by a times 6a to the 4th divided by c. And you're going to write the answer in simplest form. Is your answer 6a to the 5th divided by 5bc? Is it 11ba cubed divided by c? Is it 30ba cubed divided by c? Or is it 30ba to the 5th divided by c? Remember what you know about variables canceling each other out just like numbers. And your answer is C. The only one that works when you multiply is 5 times 6 gives you 30, and then the b is going to remain the same. The a is going to the a in the denominator is going to cancel the a in one a in the numerator. So now 7/8 of the students at Mapledale Middle School participate in extracurricular activities. Of these 7/8, 3/4 participate in team sport. What fractions of students at Mapledale Middle School participate in team sports? So in other words, what is 7/8 times 3/4? Is the answer A, 24 28ths, B, 6 7ths, C, 5/8, or D, 21 32nds? And your answer is Alright, so in our previous lesson, we divided positive fractions and multiplied rational numbers. What we're going to do today is we're going to divide positive and negative fractions using the multiplicative inverse. And then we're also going to divide some algebraic fractions. So the new vocabulary we have is the multiplicative inverse property. And so that states that the product of a number and its inverse is 1. So 1/2 times 2 over 1 will equal 1. Another example would be 2/3 times 3/2 equals 1. Another term that we can also use for the multiplicative inverse is its reciprocal. When we are dealing with fractions, we've always multiplied by the reciprocal, and it's just those two terms, multiplicative inverse and reciprocal, can be used interchangeably. You can use them both. They both mean the same thing. So here's another way, a key concept to store away in your brain is the inverse property of multiplication. A lot of people call it the multiplicative inverse property. Same thing. Which is what I said before, is the product of a number and its multiplicative inverse is 1. If you want to use it in terms of symbols, for every number a divided by b, as long as a and b do not equal 0, there is exactly one number, b over a, so that when you multiply them together, they equal 1. And the example they use during numbers is exactly what I said before, which is 2/3 times 3/2 equals 1. So we're going to find the multiplicative inverse of 6/7. So what we're going to do is we're going to find what number, when multiplied by 6/7, gives us 1. So our answer is 7/6. And the reciprocal is literally just flipping the numbers around. Now, for a mixed number like this, we are going to have to convert it to an improper fraction first, and then find the inverse. Notice that when we have a negative number, the negative inverse is also used, so that when we multiply those two negative fractions together, we get a positive 1. So the multiplicative inverse, or reciprocal, is a -5/17. So now find the multiplicative inverse of 4/9. Is it A, 4/9, B, 4/4, C, 9/9, or D, 9/4? Hopefully you found this pretty easy. So now you're going to find the multiplicative inverse of a -5 1/3. Remember, convert this one to a mixed numeral first. Is it A, -16/3, B, -16/5, C, -5/16, or D, -3/16? And your answer is D, -3/16. So now, when we divide by a fraction, we're literally going to multiply by its multiplicative inverse, or multiply by its reciprocal. So if we use the example of 4/9 divided by 3/5, that means the same as 4/9 times 5/3. So now we have 4/5 divided by 3/10, and we're going to write in simplest form. Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take that 4/5 and we're going to multiply it by 10/3. If we want, we can cancel out some numbers so that we don't have to, we can simplify on the front end. And so we are left with 8/3, or 2 2/3. Now if we take 5/6 and we divide it by 3, we are going to write that in simplest form. Well, taking 5/6 is the same, times 3 is the same as, this is an, okay, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to convert this into a fraction, which is fine. Then you're going to multiply by the inverse, which is 5/6 times 1/3. You can't cancel anything out, so you just multiply straight across and you're left with 5/18. And that is, we took 5/6 and we divided it into 3 equal groups, we would get 5/18. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take 3/8 divided by 5/6, and we're going to write the quotient in simplest form. Is the answer A, 18/40, B, 9/20, C, 3/8, or D, 1/20? Remember, you're going to take 3/8 times the inverse of 5/6. And your answer is B, 9/20. Now we're going to take 3/8 and we're going to divide it into 4 equal groups, and we're going to write the quotient in simplest form. Is the answer A, 3/2, B, 2/3, C, 3/32, or D, 10 1/2? And your answer is so now we're going to find an example where we're using two mixed numbers. First thing we're going to do, convert those mixed numbers into improper fractions. Then we are going to multiply by the reciprocal. Notice what we can do here with our 28s. This 28 and this 28 can cancel each other out, leaving us with 9 divided by 3. And that can cancel out too. So we're left with a -3. So now we're going to find 4 2/3 divided by a -3 1/9 and write the answer in simplest form. Remember, you're going to take that -3 1/9. Actually, you're going to take both of them and convert them into improper fractions, and then take the reciprocal of your improper fraction you get for -3 1/9. So convert both these two fractions into improper fractions, multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction. And is your answer A, -3, B, -2, C, -1/3, or D, -3/2? And your answer is D. So here's an example that you might see on a standardized test. A car gets 25 1/2 miles per gallon. How many gallons are needed to travel 238 miles? Is the answer A, 3/28 of a gallon, B, 9 1/3, C, 9 2/3, or D, 9 2/13? Actually, C and D have the exact same answer. So I'm a little leery that C and D could possibly be the correct answer. I already know that this can't be, because 3/28 of a gallon is not going to get me 238 miles. So what we're going to do, we need to find the number of gallons needed. If we to find the number of gallons, we're going to divide 238 by 25 1/2. And so what we're thinking is how many 25 1/2s are in 238. So we're going to rewrite 238 as an improper fraction and write 25 1/2 as an improper fraction. I'm going to simplify where I can. What in the world did they do? You are going to divide out common factors. You can divide out multiply by the reciprocal, which is fine. Figure out how many 51st go into 238's. They end up with the right answer, but oh my goodness, what a goofy way that they go about doing it. So 9 1/3 is the only possible answer. So the correct answer is B. I'm sorry, that's a terrible, horrible example of how they set it up. Alright, so a carton of juice contains 64 fluid ounces. A juice glass holds 3 1/5 ounces. How many glasses of juice can be poured from the carton? Is it A, 20 glasses, B, 25 1/2 glasses, C, 24 3/8 glasses, or D, 30 glasses? So you're going to take 64 and divide it by 3 1/5. Convert 3 1/5 into an improper fraction. Multiply 64 times the inverse of 3 1/5. And that's how you'll get your answer. And your answer ends up being A. So now what we're going to do is find the quotient for this in simplest form. Same concept. We're going to multiply by the inverse, and if you notice, you get a y in the denominator and a y in the numerator. Those cancel each other out, just like numbers. And so you're left with 2x over 2, which the 2's cancel each other out, and that gives you x. So try this one. Find the quotient in simplest form. Make sure to pause the video if you need to solve for more time. And your answer is B. And that concludes your lesson.